Okay, thank you, Monica, and thank all of you for taking time to look at the product today. I think it's important to stop and quickly tell the story, a quick story and the story of, where this all came from, where this product came from. So, are you able to see the screen? There we go. So, I've been building global networks for a long time and got into communications in the 2000s when I was building systems for the deaf and hard of hearing. There's something called video relay service that allows a deaf individual to call a live sign language interpreter over video, sign, while that interpreter calls someone over the telephone. That is a service that's paid for here in the US, and we're now expanding around the world with one of our other companies. During that time, one of the first times I set someone up with this technology, they worked in a government agency in the US, and I was working with their coworker to get the video phone working. And it finally worked, and they connected to me, and this woman over video, I started signing to her, and she just started bawling, crying. And I said, "Is everything okay? What's wrong?" And she said, she signed to me, "I don't think you understand. I have worked at this job for over 30 years, and I have never been able to communicate in my native language with anybody here at the office or outside of this office in 30 years. And you just gave me that power. I can call my husband or the principal at school if her daughter was sick." And at that moment, I was hooked. I knew I would spend the rest of my life helping people communicate, because I have taken for granted how important communication is. And so after building these systems and setting them up for Fortune 500s and the federal government, I got into setting up one of the first VRI companies called Stratus Video here in the US, which allowed video for interpretation. It recently sold for $475 million. I went off and started a company called VTC Secure to make this technology available around the globe, specifically for the deaf, hard of hearing, and blind, and deaf blind. Won contracts with the Federal Communications Commission. And in that time, I've spoken at the UN, and I work for all kinds of different disability groups as a technical liaison. Well, during that time, as we started to go global, we realized, there's a big communication problem here also with language. And for businesses to be able to communicate using different languages. And so we started to do some research, and we realized, wow, there are no good products for people with disabilities to communicate if you're a government or a business who needs to provide this, other than bringing on a live interpreter. There's definitely several AI solutions, but they're very clunky. If you're using Google Translate or something like that, or a handheld translator, you have to hand it back and forth. It's not private. Google's mining your data. And then obviously there's accuracy issues. And you didn't have the ability to control translation for your specific company. One of the other big things of those other solutions is they didn't have the ability to add an interpreter in case the AI wasn't working. And we believe that an interpreter is still needed most of the time, and it will be many, many years, decades, before you can really do high-end interactions without an interpreter. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Then we looked at this and they said, well, there's definitely not something that can do all of these things. Language, AI, live interpreters, and have it all be, in one place with one capability. And so that's what we set out to build. And so I'd like to introduce to you the Isla. Isla stands for the Instant Language Assistant, and it's the only universal, private, inclusive, and customizable solution for business and government, so they can instantly and effectively communicate no matter the language, disability, or location. It's the power to communicate with anyone. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to go, Isla is software. Isla runs on any two devices. It can be on 2 cell phones. It can be on 2 laptops, 2 computers, any 2 devices that support basically a web browser. One of the problems we found with that is if you're a government or a business, you need to be able to provide that capability. Somebody's phone might not have a good connection. Their battery might be dead. They might not have a phone. So if you need to interact with a government or business, they need to provide a device that's always on, always connected, always powered up, where you can instantly start communicating in under 5 seconds. So this is the Isla that we loaded onto our hardware configuration Isla. We also have smaller versions of it that the government has contracted us to build for things like the Coast Guard to be able to do at-sea rescues. So just a quick demo. Anybody can walk up to this. It's easy to use. I'm going to choose Spanish. Then I'm going to choose my accent of Spanish. This makes it far more accurate. That's it. That's all you have to do to connect. The both sides are instantly connected. Hola, ¿qué pasa, mi amigo? Everything you say,
hi, what's up, my friend,
instantly shows up to you in your language. This is very important. It allows you to instantly verify. If you're using specialized headsets or you're passing something back and forth, this is difficult to do. It also instantly shows up to the other side and then starts speaking out loud when you're finished. Yo tengo 2 hermanos y 3 hermanas. And as you'll see, sometimes it'll even change as it's being done to be more accurate. So one of the beautiful things about this is anybody anywhere in the world can connect to this device using a web browser. So, and Monica will show this at the end, but Monica with Italian, not have to download anything. She'll be able to connect to this device. We can have that same live translated conversation with her on the other side of the world using just her cell phone with no app. So that makes it very useful and easy to use. So what we've branded this technology is called UPIC. Let me go ahead and share my screen again for a second. UPIC stands for Universal, Private, Inclusive, and Customizable. And so the idea is you pick how and when you want to communicate. So for universal, from the organization side, you can use it on any device. You can use it in any situation. You can pre-program your workflows on here that are 100% accurate, that you can just press buttons and start communicating in that language. It's always on, it's always ready. It can be on any network, it could be in any location. It's got access controls for people with different disabilities. You can speak one-to-one or you can speak one-to-many. So thousands of people can join a website, each pick their own language. I speak and all of them in real time will see what I'm saying in their own language. Now, that's the organization side. For the user side, the device is accessible. It's very easy, it's intuitive. You walk up, you choose a language and start talking. It's extremely convenient. Anybody in the world can connect. And if you have 2 cell phones, any 2 people using their existing headsets can just connect to each other with a link or a QR code, shake their phone, connect, start communicating. They can maintain distance. People can use their own phone with the actual Isla so that they don't have to be close to the other person using it. So it's very easy to use. You don't need any training, and it's very convenient. P, it's private. So there is no data mining. We don't save any data. We don't use your data to retrain the engine. It's 100% encrypted. Everything is immediately deleted. There's no history, there's no conversation history, and everything is encrypted so that no one can listen into this conversation. As soon as you press end, all of the data is gone. This makes it HIPAA compliant for use in hospitals. It's safe for government use. I is for inclusive. This device isn't just for language. It works for people who are deaf, people who are hard of hearing, people who are deaf blind. It works for people who are low vision. It works in 120 different dialects, languages and dialects with AI, and over 230 languages with a live interpreter. So while you're on a call, If for some reason there's a language it doesn't support or the AI isn't working, you press a button, you bring on a live interpreter. Or if it's a situation where you don't want to use AI, it's too important right from the start, you press a button, you bring on a live interpreter. So this is an all-encompassing device. You can even control the device for the other side if the person has a mobility disability and can't interact with the device. And then it's customizable. And this is really the key to this product. You have total control. If your grandmother comes up, she can't see very well, from one side of the device, you can make it bigger. You can make the text, the fonts bigger. You can control these devices using your own mobile device management. You can secure them to any level that you want. Next, you have Bluetooth and accessories. These devices, you can use an existing headset. You can share it to a smart TV and display it very large. It can connect to hearing aids, to loop systems. It can even connect to Braille displays. And this is life-changing for the deaf-blind. They can have an app on their phone, connects to a Braille display. Somebody can walk up. They have a little name tag that says, if you'd like to talk to me, go to 123isla.com and enter Peter. Anybody with a web browser can connect. They speak in any language. It'll show up on the Braille display. They read it with their fingers. They can type back. It shows up in text and speaks out loud to the other user. And now a deaf-blind person can now instantly communicate with anyone. And this is extremely powerful. Lastly, accurate. And this is what really differentiates our product. So for the Coast Guard, we are preloading thousands of phrases that are perfectly translated into multiple languages for when they're doing a rescue at sea. You can create trees for intake at the hospital. And in these cases, again, you don't even have to speak. You can just press a button and go through your business process without even having to speak into the device. And then the most important part, and what really differentiates us from a Google, an Amazon, from any handheld device, is we have full organizational intelligence capability. And what this means is we can control speech to text and translation for your organization. So the way these devices, all of them pretty much work, is they take speech to text, they convert your speech into text, they translate them, send them to the other side in text, and then use text to speak back out loud. There's a lot of places things can go wrong there. So in the speech to text part, we have things like accents that allow you to pick. There's 18 accents of Arabic, Spanish, English. This makes it far more accurate when you pick your accent. Then you can view on the screen what you're saying. This, in your own language, this allows you to make sure that it's correct. And you don't have to pass the device back and forth to see that. We can also weight specific words. So we can take your product names, we can take your people names, your places names, and we can weight those words so they show up correctly. And we can do weights for entire industries. So if it's going to be a medical call, we can set it to medical. And now all of medical words and terminologies will be weighted for the speech to text. Now we can also do this for the translation. We're able to load specific translations for different languages, anything from a single word to full phrases. And interestingly, we can even take an existing translation memory file, feed it into the system, and then push that down to everyone who has the app or the hardware for your organization, allowing you to have really specific capabilities for your interpretation and translations. We can even take the entire engines and put them on your network if you do need higher end security or you want to be able to train those yourself and make them better and better. So again, it's sort of a crazy product like nothing else out there, but we want to put this sort of in when should it be used? So there's three situations. There's situations where Today, nobody uses an interpreter. You're at the front desk of the hotel. You're not picking up the phone and calling an interpreter. You're interacting with folks. This is where people would normally use Google Translate or something else. You can use this device for that. Now, for highly skilled, for standard interpreters or highly skilled interpreters, you can press a button, bring on a live interpreter via audio or video in 232 languages, and instantly be able to communicate. Now, what we did find was something very interesting. Recently, we were signing up a reseller in Germany. They didn't speak any English. We had been using the Isla to communicate back and forth. We brought on a live interpreter, and that live interpreter didn't need to interpret. I would speak the German. When the interpreter went to speak in German, the German said, no, we understand what they said. We were all on a Zoom together. They spoke back. No. The interpreter started to speak in English. I said, nope, I understand them. I spoke back. The interpreter was able to monitor the entire conversation and only chime in when there was a miscommunication or a misinterpretation. This made the interpreter's job easier. It maintained 100% accuracy in the conversation, but it cut the conversation down by 20 to 40%. And this is huge when you think about saving the doctor's time, the nurse's time, or any time-sensitive situation, and it can save customers a little bit of money while providing a better service. So where is this being used? We just launched this in 2020. Disney, Rosen Hotels, Wyndham Hotels. Again, a lot of those orders were canceled, but the travel and tourism area was our initial big focus. We've sort of changed a little bit, but we have already sold to federal, state, local government. You could use it for buildings. We have schools using it in the nurse's office, in the principal's office for communicating with students who don't speak English. It's used by employees who have disabilities so they can communicate with coworkers and customers. We're using it at healthcare facilities. It can be used with telemedicine, emergency response, international business, non-governmental organizations. There's almost an unlimited number of uses for this product. Now, I have to explain something else also very important about the technology. When people are using our technology, oftentimes they use it, especially French and other languages in Europe, and they go, this stinks. I just tried it in French. We focus on native language. This device is not supposed to be used for someone that is not speaking the native language. It's meant to be used for someone that doesn't know English or the native language. And so many people try to use it in French and they go, this is terrible. Someone who is French uses it and goes, this is the most accurate I've ever seen. So that is one of the both good and bad things of our product, is it's listening for a native accent. Because otherwise, if you could speak in English, you would just speak in English. So real quick, I just want to bring this up real quick. If people want to join, and I can talk with my headset to multiple people. You can scan that QR code, or you can go to 123isla.com and enter 800-5150. I'll be able to see when people enter the room, pick any language you want, and we'll be able to communicate. And so I've got some folks in the room. Thank you all for looking at our product today. And again, this is another reason why we like to put hardware out, is because we have special microphones in here. We also build the capability to cut out background noise. We test ambient sound 6 times a second to auto adjust gain and things like that to ensure that the conversation is much more smooth. And that's why we sort of went to more of a hardware model for businesses, as opposed to just trying to do a Google Translate capability that sort of already exists today. I don't want to take up too much more time. I can also answer questions if there are any. Thank you all again for watching my presentation. Okay, Again, thank you guys for taking a look. Also, we are going to be coming out soon with the capability for any two people to communicate and have the interpreter watch both sides of the conversation and chime in whenever they need to. So if you go to our website, www.translatelive.com, and sign up at the bottom, we're going to be looking for different interpreters to test that with your clients if they would like to, initially for free, so that you can monitor conversations or only do important part of the conversations when people are communicating back and forth. You can also download the Isla software. It's sort of a soft version that people can try for free. You can just search for Instant Language Assistant on the internet. Thank you very much again.